and welcome to this reading vlog. It is about 4:15 on Monday afternoon. I've just come out of work and we are going book shopping, which is very exciting news. Britain has actually been out of lockdown for about the last 3 or 4 weeks now, but I'm yet to actually take the plunge and go to a shopping centre. I've got so much of my routine of online shopping and just ordering everything from the comfort of my house that I haven't actually braved the crowds yet. But watching a lot of people's vlogs and reading videos and things all about their hauls recently has really made me crave going to Waterstones. So that is exactly what we're going to do today. So let's go. So, shopping successfully completed. However, I did get rather a soaking on my way back to the car, but you win some, you lose some. There is also, if I can just spin you round, a rainbow. I don't know if you can see that through the windows. But anyway, so Waterstones visited, very successful purchases, probably too successful to be perfectly honest. Maybe should have splurged slightly less, but it's a treat. It's been a hard week. And then also got a few goodies from Lush, which I have here. I will show you everything when I get back and when we've dried off and look a little bit more presentable. But yeah, very happy with my first small trip out into civilization again. Hello, I'm back, dry and hopefully looking a little less dishevelled than the last time you saw me, and ready to take you through my purchases from the day. So I did end up only going to the 2 shops that you saw, so Lush and Waterstones, but decided easing myself back in gently to the whole shopping centre job. We'll work up to clothing and interiors and all the rest of the things on another trip, but very happy with the purchases that I've made, and let's have a little look through them. So just turning you around here, we'll start with the Waterstones purchases. Firstly, isn't this the most beautiful bag? Not purchased today, but it is actually from Waterstones too. I'm a fan of anything space and constellation based, and I just loved the design and the colours of this, so it is always my go-to book buying bag. So if we open this up, I will take you through what we have got. Spoilers down in there. So the first 2 are from Waterstones buy one get one half price section. Both are historical crime books, which is one of my favourite genres of book to read. I have an entire bookshelf devoted to this. Both are continuations of series that I haven't yet picked up. This being the 6th, I think, in a series, this one the 4th. So starting with Execution, this is probably the one of the 2 that I'm more excited to get to. I've really enjoyed this series right from the start. I started reading these about 5 years ago when I was at uni and have devoured them ever since. So this follows a actual real historical character called Giordano Bruno. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong to any Italians out there. Who is an ex-monk turned scholar slash spy which calls for a lot of political intrigue in these plots, and he is based in and around the Elizabethan court in Britain and across Europe, depending which book we're in. This particular one, it looks like, is actually set in England, and he gets very involved in solving a lot of these political crimes and murders around the court. Gets himself into quite a lot of scrapes as well, so they're always great fun to read. I love this whole murder mystery setup, but with the political twist. Adds for a different layer of intrigue, and definitely characters that I love reading about as well, so quite high up on my to read list that one is going to be. Also really a fan of his cover. I love the gold of the feather, and both actually have the same kind of engraving sketch style covers, which I really appreciate in historical books. The other one we have is The Last Protector by Andrew Taylor. This one is part of the Marwood and Lovett series, following two characters living in London in the 1660s. The first book is set around the events of the Great Fire of London. This one is a couple of years later, I believe, and again follows murder stories, political intrigue, same kind of deal, but with two slightly less glamorous and less politically connected characters. So you get a slightly different view of London society in this particular era. Both very good. I'm excited for both series. So moving on, my bag has fallen over. Let's go with this one next. So we have The Master of Sorrows by Justin Call. Firstly, is this not the most gorgeous cover? Look at that gold. I am in love. This was one of my rare spontaneous purchases. I don't normally buy books either based on the cover or books I don't know very much about. So if I just preface this by saying I have two particular book buying categories. These two fall into the first one, which is continuations of series that I've already started, know that I like and want to carry on reading. The other category is books that I have actually already read in a different format, so either from my library, on an audiobook, or just borrowed from a friend or something. So we have very few books like this that I don't actually know very much about, but I'm just keen to get into. Reason for that being, I have very limited bookshelf space in my house. I currently live in my family home, so I only have one room to fill with bookshelves. In the future, if and when I have an entire room to devote to being a library, I will probably be a lot more free with my purchases, but in the meantime, we have to just stick with the odd spontaneous purchase. But I couldn't pass this one up. It looks absolutely beautiful. I am a big fan of a fantasy story. Also, I feel like I've seen this on somebody's TBR for this month. Cannot for the life of me remember who, but I'm very intrigued by it. Not going to read you the synopsis, I know very little about it, so we'll just go into it blind together, and I will update you with what I find. Moving on, we have The Secrets of the Wildwood by Tonka Dracht. I'm very sorry again if I'm pronouncing that wrong. This is the sequel to a middle grade book which I loved many years ago when I read the first one. The first one being The Letter for the King, I think? Something like that. Very traditional fantasy world, kind of medieval Europe style, with lots of knights and quests and adventures. Very heartwarming, beautiful series. I have actually read this one already. I read it as an ebook last year, I believe. Quite a chunky read for a middle grade, but definitely one which I really enjoyed and wanted to just add to my collection. Another middle grade which we have in here is this beauty, The Railway Children by Ian Nesbitt, which I loved as a child. I read this one at primary school many times, but somehow I've never actually owned a copy. And this gorgeous edition, cloth-bound classic with this pretty pink cover, the little illustrations of trains. It's so small as well. Just couldn't pass that one up, so very happy to add that one to my collection too, and maybe I'll be due a reread this year. Who knows? It's got to be at least 15 years since I read this book. Showing my age here. And then the final book we have is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. So I've been making my way through all of Sanderson's books in about the past year. This one follows my reading of firstly Elantris, then the Mistborn trilogy, and then second era Mistborn trilogy too. This one I have actually already started as an audiobook, but I've only read about the first 2 chapters. The reason I decided to purchase this one as a physical copy is that I do struggle with audiobooks of big chunky high fantasy books like this. This audiobook I believe is about 20 hours or so, and I like to read my books quite quickly, so getting through an audiobook like this would involve a lot of long periods of time sitting down listening to it, which I just don't have in my day. I tend to listen to audiobooks for small periods of time when I'm out for a walk or in my car in the traffic or something, so it would take me many weeks to get through a book of this size, which just isn't going to cut it. So I thought a physical copy is justified, plus I want to add it to my Sanderson collection anyway. This will probably be the one I carry on with reading first out of this section, but please let me know which of these you'd like me to pick up next. Thinking it probably will be Master of Sorrows. I might try and get to that one in June, but we'll see. We'll see what we get to. And then finally, let me just show you quickly what I've picked up from Lush. So we have two old favourites, which I buy every single time I go. So we have Twilight, which, if you didn't know, is a lavender scented bath bomb, and Dragon's Egg, which is a kind of citrusy scent. Two of my absolute favourites. I've touched these many times. And then we have a new one called Goddess, which caught my eye immediately as I went into the shop. It's the most glittery, beautiful thing I have ever seen. Let me see if I can show you. It's in this gorgeous lilac colour. And as you can see from my bedding, I'm a fan of purple. Look at that glitter, isn't that just beautiful? I am a fan. I'm also going to get very glittery fingers. And I actually did very well with this purchase. I managed to get it for free, and the delightful cashier in Lush made a bit of a mistake in putting my order and was so kind and apologetic that he actually threw this one in for free for my trouble, which I totally was not expecting but was very grateful for. On the bargain front, I actually did quite well in Waterstones too, because in addition to the buy one get one half price offer, I also had £10 worth of credits on my Waterstones card, so one of the books that you see is essentially free, which is very exciting stuff. So that is all we have for today's haul. I hope you enjoyed looking at the purchases that I have made. I'm very excited to get to all of these books, be them rereads or new purchases, but probably won't actually be starting any of them this evening as I have several other books on the go already. I will be tuning into the Patreon sprints this evening with Steph from Steph Loves and Jade from JD Ray Reads, so hopefully can get a bit more of a chunk through my current read, which is Troubled Blood by Robert Galbraith. I have about 400 pages of this left, so we'll update you with my thoughts a little bit later on, and hopefully we can get through at least another 200 pages of that tonight. I'm going to go and grab some dinner before the Patreon live starts, so I will see you a little bit later.
Do you remember the rainbow I showed you through the window earlier? This one's better. Look at those colours!
It is now Tuesday afternoon and you join me once again from my car at the end of a work day. I feel the car park could become a regular spot for filming updates. I was all set to go and play tennis after work today, but have actually walked out to thunderstorms, so don't think any outdoor exercise is going to be an option tonight, which is very good on the reading front, but may have to try and motivate myself into some kind of indoor workout a little bit later on. We'll see. I also want to try and catch another set of Patreon reading sprints this evening, I believe hosted by Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction, another one of my favourite booktube channels, and I believe she's being joined by quite a host of other booktubers as well, so that should be a really good one to get involved with. I'm hoping to finish Troubled Blood this evening. As you saw last night, I got past the 600 page mark, so I have about 300 pages left to go, and hopefully with sprints can get myself through that chunk and actually get this book finished. I am enjoying it, don't get me wrong, but it's probably sitting around a 3.5 stars at the moment. I don't do official star ratings, but always kind of have a vague idea in my head. I preferred the previous books in the series, to be honest. It's not really holding my attention as much. I think because the book's actually centred around a cold case, so it's an investigation from about 40 years prior to the events of the book. So there's a lot of interviewing people about past events, looking back through old paperwork and police reports and things, which is interesting enough in itself, but I think that lack of acute setting and the threat of a murderer being on the scene and potentially going after your main characters, it just takes away a little bit of the drama for me, and it doesn't really hold my attention as much as I would like. So, okay, I'm going to finish it. I probably will still buy it for my collection, as I've actually got the rest of the series, so I still enjoy it, but probably not as thrilled with this one in terms of rating. But you never know, the ending could convince me. So fingers crossed we can get through that one this evening. I will check in with you later when I'm home and reading. Just checking in with an update on my reading progress. I can't remember exactly when I last updated you, but I did finish Troubled Blood on Tuesday evening, and it did slightly redeem itself. Still not as highly rated as the rest of the series, but I think it did scrape a low 4-star rather than the 3.5 that I was anticipating throughout most of the book. The ending was cleverly written, it was a great plot, and the characters always will drag this series up for me. I really enjoy reading about the main duo, and for someone who doesn't really read contemporaries, especially anything that doesn't have a fantastical twist, I actually enjoy the drama of the characters, their dynamic. It's actually quite comforting for me to read about. They feel like old friends almost. I do stand by my judgment that it was very much too long, this book. It could easily have lost 200 pages and I don't think anybody would have noticed. It wouldn't have had any detrimental effect on the plot, but good all round really, and I'm glad I finally got to the end of it. I then started Shadow Black, which you saw, and I am absolutely loving this book so far, much closer to a 5 stars. It feels very different, understandably, from the past book that I read, much more YA. I mean, it's supposed to be, it's written as YA, but it's a much more simplistic style in a good way. So less emotional depth and torment, and a lot less graphic as well. I love Verius. I absolutely am in love with her character. I want to be her, and I really enjoy the snarky wit of Rikus, the squirrel cat, as well. It's just a fun read all round, and I'm really excited to see what happens to these characters in the rest of the series. I'm going to try and finish this book tonight. I think I have about 65 pages left of this one, so that is definitely my goal for the evening. Hello, it is now Saturday, and I have not long finished a 6th consecutive day of work this week, so consequently I'm very tired. I will check in with you tomorrow to give you a summary of my reads for the week, but for now I'm treating myself to a cosy night in. I have a blanket, I have wine, and I have a new fantasy book to start, so I am very happy this evening. Hello, It's Sunday wrap-up time and I've had a pretty successful week of reading. I started the week by finishing about 500 pages to round out Troubled Blood. I then started and completed Shadow Black and have made about 200 pages of progress through The Rose Cord. I've also read around 150 pages of A Sprinkle of Sorcery, which I don't think I actually told you I had started, but I'm reading this as an ebook from Scribd on my phone, getting through a chapter or two at work on my lunch breaks, and it's the perfect book for me to read at work just to get my daily fix of reading. A little bit of fantasy. It's a fun middle grade, so it doesn't matter if I get a little bit distracted, as I'm not likely to miss any major plot points or anything. So that brings us to around 1,200 pages read this week, which is very satisfying. I'll probably make a little bit more progress through The Rose Cord tonight, but I'm going to round out this vlog here. So thank you very much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to give me a like down below if you have. Chat to me in the comments, let me know your thoughts on any of the books that I've read or hauled this week, and feel free to subscribe if you liked this video and would like to see more content from me. I will see you next week with another reading video, so bye for now.